Hi guys, Herbalist40 here and welcome back. Right, so for those of you who caught yesterday's video, I said I was going to be bringing up something pretty epic as far as things go. Right, now, first of all, I'm not saying that me and Jack Treehorn, because basically I'm going to give a shout out right now. Jack Treehorn is basically the one who brought my attention to this. Now, I'm not saying that we're the first ones to come across this. I haven't personally seen anyone bring it up before, but I'm not saying that we are the only ones. But if you have seen it, I apologise, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to point out a few things that you haven't noticed within these particular images. Now, basically these are wallpapers from rockstargames.com. Now, I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and check them out for yourselves. But I've basically put myself through the trouble of kind of scaling through every single one of them, trying to find the interesting parts of every single one of them, and as always try and create as many links to the game itself as we possibly can. So I'm just going to start off here, and this is basically a logo, one of the more simple images we're going to see, and this is a logo of obviously Rockstar, and the logo is at the tip of a golden pyramid. And the pyramid is also infinite. Now, moving on, we have this particular logo of Rockstar, which is in the gold series as well, and this one represents infinity. Now, moving on, this is another one, and it's in a different series which is called Miscellaneous. And as you can see here, it says Rockstar Games Worldwide Domination Program Syntax. And if I zoom in there, you can see there's actually some dots. The dots are placed essentially over Europe. You have some over here in America, in the US, South America as well. So I just thought that was relevant to point out, but let me tell you, this is just the beginning. The images to come are going to get a lot more interesting, so we might as well just jump ahead. Right, so next up here we have the Doodle series. Now, in the Doodle series we're going to basically not completely link this one to the mystery itself, because I'm not sure if it's 100% relevant or not, but I'll go ahead and point out a couple things anyway. We have here the Space Wolf, because this is basically the Doodle series Space Wolf image, and obviously you can see it's a wolf in an astronaut's costume. We're going to kind of point out here that he's got some lightning bolts on his boots, and also, you know, they're propelling him in the air, so I suppose they're jetpack boots in a way. Also here you have the little sticker of a meteorite, an orange meteorite. And the colour of it is going to kind of be relevant to something I'm going to bring up a little later on. But sticking to the image itself, like, this kind of looks like the surface of the moon to me. I don't know about you guys, but it seems to be like it is the moon. There's a couple of cactuses on here, cacti, I don't know how you say it. There's 3, 2 black ones and a green one in the middle. Also on the moon we have a Rockstar flag. Over here is a planet. Now, it could be depicting Saturn. The colours don't really match, but it is cartoon style, so I'm not sure if the colours would be relevant in that situation. And finally up here we do have the Rockstar logo on the Earth, at the top right hand corner there. Now there's a few stars scattered around as well, but as I said, this image and the next one we're not going to completely link to our mystery research, because this is kind of what I'm here for today. Anyway, sticking to the point, this one is the second of the Doodle series, and it's called Robostar. Now, again, not too much detail on this one. I'm just going to point out that the robot's head there, I don't know if you can see in his mouth, but it kind of looks like a pulse symbol, like, you know, you'd get on a cardiac machine. Anyway, there's a couple of jets there to the left which are firing torpedoes or missiles at the Robostar. To the right you can see here we have a toaster, and coming out of the steam of the toaster you have a couple of little hearts, little red hearts there. I'll move the mouse out of the way. So yeah, a couple of little red hearts there. Zooming back out again, basically the image is depicting Robo-Star kind of destroying the city beneath him. I can actually zoom in, might make life a little bit easier. But yeah, as you can see here, it's depicting the city in flames, or the buildings in flames. Moving on once again, this is where things kind of really do get interesting. It's not one of the most complex images, but it's going to be one of the more interesting ones. And this is in the tree series. Now this is available in a few different colours that might make it easier for you to see what I'm going to try and point out to you here. But basically you have a tree around this section, and here, which is the root system of the tree, basically kind of could be depicted as a heart or some form of organ. Inside it here we have the Rockstar logo. But we have three animals. Now this one is a kind of platypus style animal. I'm going to zoom in on him. Kind of a long flat nosed creature. Down here to the left we kind of have a pig-like creature. It's not too easy to see, but I'm pretty sure you can make it out. And down here the third one. Now I don't know if this is some sort of boar or some sort of, I don't know, dinosaur. It's kind of a little bit weird and they're kind of hard to make out. They're interesting in a sense that we're not going to really get into, but another interesting thing I'm going to point out is on the branch here on top of the tree, this branch, this is kind of like an egg. Pretty much is an egg-shaped object. As I said, I'll be leaving the link in the description below so you can go and check all this out by yourselves. But for those of you who don't have the time, or you know, I've kind of done the effort for you of going through the images, which are interesting because there are quite a lot of images we're not going to look at because they don't really have any relevance. They're just artwork. Now this is where the pace really picks up, and I'm going to try and keep it simple. We're going to start at the bottom here. Basically at the bottom here you can see there's a young lady and she's playing the piano. Now just kind of remember that, because this image is sort of a story, or there's sort of an order to it. So it kind of starts here with this little girl playing the keys, and this series, by the way, is called Machine, and the whole series is this one image in multiple colours. I think blue is the easiest to look at things in this particular image. So anyway, I'm going to zoom out, and as you can see it's the Rockstar logo, but as we go up, the first interesting thing here is going to be the birds. Now the birds, when you actually get to see them for yourselves, they kind of look like they're holding things in their claws, which would be symbolising birds of prey. Now that is something that's very interesting that we've brought up many times before, so I thought it was important to point that out. Moving up a little bit here, I'm just going to jump straight to these two and then we'll go back. But on top of the Rockstar logo we have these two guys. Now the one who's sitting down on the left is kind of attached, he's got his arms attached or roped up, and he kind of looks like a Cro-Magnon kind of guy, like a caveman kind of style. And the one who's actually going to start whipping him with whatever that is in his hand is more of like a pirate kind of costume, like black trousers and a fluffy white shirt. That's kind of what he's wearing. Anyway, next to them we have this engineer, or some guy who seems to be tending to the machine, because basically, I don't know if you've noticed, but the whole Rockstar thing here is basically one big machine. There's a little clue right here, and it's not really focusing, but that there is an 8. Now you can go and see it for yourselves, but basically right there next to that little chimney in the circle of the art, it forms an 8. I'm really not sure if that's going to be visible on the end result, but if not, you can go and check it out again for yourselves. But anyway, if we carry on the order of what's to be noticed here, if I zoom in here to the right, there's kind of like a little hand there. Again, I'm not sure how good the focus is going to come out on this in the end. I know it's a little bit shaky as well, I do apologise. But zooming back out from there, we're just going to try and keep it simple and to the point. Remember I said this is kind of a story and it kind of follows itself from the little girl playing the piano. If we make our way down here, we have this skeleton, dinosaur skeleton, doing its job here by riding the bicycle, which is in some way making the machine work as well. But this is where it also gets quite interesting. Down here at the tip of the machine, you can kind of see that it replicates the little girl's hands coming out playing the piano, and the piano seems to be attached to these cats' tails. Now as she's playing the piano, it's making the cat scream. I haven't really connected much to that right now, but I do find it excessively interesting, and I think it could be related in a big way to a lot of things we've been looking for. And I want to point out as well, this tree, it's kind of out of place. I don't really know what it's doing there. This is all machinery and mechanics, and there's just one tree in the background with this little girl playing the cats through her piano. Okay. So yeah, that's the full image. Right, now this is going to be one of the most interesting images we're going to see today. Again, I'll just get straight into it. It's probably the easiest way for me to do this because there is a lot of content to share with you right now. Trying not to talk too much. It's quite a task for me, as I'm sure you've noticed by now. But at the top of this one, which the title is Decay, I'm actually going to do it differently. I'm going to back out and I'm going to actually enhance the image. There we go. That might be a little bit better. Right, now what we're looking at here at the top of the image is the first kind of hidden thing. Now what we're looking at in fact is this eagle, because most of the things we're going to see here are insects and otherwise. Now if you hadn't noticed, under the eagle, kind of hidden here, we have the Statue of Liberty. Now she's holding a hot coffee, as I'm sure you've heard of that Easter egg before, and in her other arm she holds this book. Now I can't actually make, there's a couple scribbles on there, but I don't actually think we can read those. But moving on, just sticking to what we can actually see and what's kind of hidden. Amongst the swarm of wasps here, we actually have a helicopter that's been hidden. I know we've made a few assumptions as far as helicopters in relations to birds, but I find it very interesting that they chose to place it amongst this swarm of wasps. Also, moving on, right here we have this moth, and I'm sure you can all see the skull in the back of the moth's head. All basically sticking to the title of the series, which is Decay. Now, I am going to point out something here which is probably one of the Easter eggs Rockstar assumed we'd never find. But what you're looking at here, this dude, he is basically Pigsy, and he is the antagonist in Rockstar's previous game called Manhunt. And I find it very interesting that we should find him hiding here in this particular wallpaper from Rockstar. Now, to the right here, next to the moth, we have this wasp who is actually carrying a baseball bat or some form of bat in his hand. In his whatever they are, tentacles, I don't know. Sorry about that. But yeah, he is carrying a bat, and I found it very interesting as well that all these images are quite well hidden amongst this particular wallpaper. Now, it does kind of reveal a couple of other things if we move down. Basically here we have a hummingbird, and the hummingbird appears to be drinking or feeding off the flower here. But if you move just a little bit upward above the fire ants, you can see there is a wheel right there. Now, I've kind of pissed around with a lot of the wheels in game and different rims and stuff. It kind of looks like an SUV rim, so I don't know if it's linked to anything in particular. It kind of seems like a familiar image, like maybe one of Rockstar's other wallpapers or images, and they just like, I don't know, Photoshop the wheel in here. I don't know if you see what I mean, but anyway, the wheel is there and it kind of sticks out. Well, it's hidden, but it's out of place is what I mean. But anyway, among the snakes and other things down here we have the toad, which is pretty much another symbol of plague and pestilence and all sorts of things I've spoken of before. Now also, next to the toad, or beneath the toad here, we have a spider or some form of tarantula. But I did want to point out as well, where is it? I've actually lost it myself. It's right there. It's a zombie hand, or a hand of the undead coming out of the ground, I suppose, behind the snake's head. So another little hidden image within this big wallpaper. Alright, for this last one on the Decay wallpaper is probably the most well hidden and the most easily argued one, I suppose, like the one you could say it's part of the leaf, blah blah blah. Let me tell you, after further investigation, it is not. That is in fact a top hat, pretty well conceived in the picture of Decay, alongside all these other creepy crawlies. Right, we've moved on now to a section called Celestial Deities, and this kind of lends a lot of credibility to what I've been talking to you about constellations and stars and the stories and myths connected to these constellations and stars. Now, basically in this Celestial Deities wallpaper section we have here this wallpaper which is entitled Neptune, and there's not much to say so far, but for the moment I'm just going to focus on the fact that his hair and beard kind of looks like a helmet in a way. I don't know if you feel me on that, but it basically looks like, again zooming in, it kind of looks like it's superimposed over his head. It looks like it's not actually part of his skin. It's I'm going to show you a couple of other celestial deities, and they're different for some reason. They're a lot more realistic, and I don't know, for some reason it kind of looks like maybe one of Trevor's bowl helmets kind of thing. Not linking it to Trevor at all, I'm just using it as a reference here to the helmet. But as I said, there's not much to say about Neptune here, but it does kind of lend credibility to Rockstar paying attention to the stars and, you know, most likely including that into their games, and I kind of pointed that in seeing the stars of GTA 5, I think. But as I said, moving on, here we have the second celestial deity, and this one is Aphrodite. And this one in particular has a couple more things to point out. Now, I want you to look at her face. The star that's shining through her right eye means that that eye is open. So her left eye is closed. Now, I can't make sense of that at all. And also here you can see this strange limb or member coming from her back and going into the side of her head. What is that? Is that an arm? I've looked at the depiction as Aphrodite. I've never seen her depicted in that way before, so I don't know if anyone can shed light on what that extra limb is coming from her back. Because as you can see here, she actually has two arms, one going down and one going to the left. But what we're going to point out about this picture as well is that just next to her and surrounding the Rockstar image we have here two cherubs, and I'll be getting into those a little bit later on in a different video because it's going to be way too long otherwise. But alongside these cherubs we actually have grapes on the vine. Now this is a reference to grapes in general and a reference to wine. Two things that we have many references to in the game itself. Now, I know I haven't actually used much game evidence as links to what these wallpapers are just yet, but trust me, hang in there, we are getting to it. There's quite a few images to go through still. This is the last of the celestial deities they let us see, and basically it is Ares. Now I'm going to try and keep the details slim for the moment, because I might have to do a full episode on Ares, just to see how he connects into the game. As usual, that is always my objective, even though you may not see it that way. Anyway, basically around these symbols here, 7 symbols might I add, we have the mirrored horses or stallions coming out of the circle. Now inside the circle is where I'm going to stay a little bit vague. You can feel free to check the link out and go and have a little bit of an investigation of your own. But I'm going to stick to what's on Ares for the moment. Now obviously you can see he's horned, but I'd like you to note that behind him he has a couple of interesting things. He has a sword to the left with a crown at the tip. He also has a scepter here with the eagle on top. Now I will be explaining what that is in the future. We also have the serpent here wrapped around some arrows, and here basically this is a twin-headed phoenix or twin-headed dragon, or one of the two, I don't want to really confirm it just yet, which is also wrapped around a sword. But as I said, there's a load of images to see, so for the moment I'm just going to leave it at that and we're going to switch to something else. Right, so this next series is called The Eye, and it gives us 3 images, and I'm going to just say straight off the bat that the 3 images, in my opinion, kind of have to be seen in the order 1, 2, 3, and they kind of tell a little story. Not that I understand the story just yet, but I've kind of vaguely approached it with Jack Treehorn. I'm going to point out that before this video was made, me and Jack spent literally about 3¼ hours on Skype going over each and every one of these images, preparing them for you, so that we could break down all the little hidden clues that people might miss. But at the same time, the point of the video is that we want other people's opinions to see what maybe we have missed. But also pointing out, whilst I say that, there are a lot of things that I'm holding back to make sure that the video isn't overly long and overly complicated. All this is for a reason, trust me. And I'm bringing this to you today because there is meaning behind this. You're going to have to trust me on that as well. But getting into the first image, this is the eye number 1, and basically up here we have the eye surrounded by clouds which are purple, orange and shades of pink. Underneath the eye we have the rock star symbol at the top of the pyramid. Now I'm going to point out this kind of looks like a Mayan pyramid style, like with the ramp going up for the sacrifice sort of thing and the missing top. And to the left and right of the pyramid we have 2 domes, which kind of represent maybe 2 sorts of factories. Jack kind of said maybe a sexual reference as well, with maybe a woman's breasts. I'm not too sure, but what I am kind of sure of, and what Jack and me kind of determined, was these 2 symbols, the left hand and the right hand that we can see here. Now for this one I'm gonna choose an outside link to kind of explain what these are. First of all, we're going to focus on the right hand here, and this symbol is the symbol of the hand of God. Now let me just bring this up for you guys. This is what you get when you Google symbol for the hand of God. Now as you can see, it's just the same image as on the star. Now the left image, which was this one, which you can find very easily if you type in Pope 3-finger symbol, because this is a picture of the Pope. But where it gets a little bit interesting is that this, on the contrary to it being a symbol for God, is a Luciferian and Satanistic symbol. Now for some reason my mouse doesn't want to work. Here we go. Here we have Michelle Obama using this particular symbol. Okay, so that was the eye, image 1. As I said, I'll go back to it real quick. Underneath, these are most likely buildings, maybe depicting the city of Los Santos, I'm not too sure. But again, I'm going to point out on the left hand side here with the evil symbol, the smoke is going straight upward, kind of forming like a club shape, and here to the right with the good hand, the smoke is in little clusters, not really representing anything I could depict. But we're going to move straight on to the eye number 2. Now here in the eye 2, it seems like he's fleeing the city with the star in front of him here and the lightning bolt in his right arm. And I'm just going to point out that if you pay close attention, this cloud here behind him is now blue. Now if we jump back to the previous picture, you can check it out for yourselves, there are no blue clouds. However, in the eye number 2, we have our first cloud appearing. Now I've pointed out what I really wanted to point out on this particular picture. Now for the last one in the eye series, and this is the eye 3. Now at this point, he has a multitude of blue clouds around him, and the red, orange, pink and purple clouds that are actually on him are starting to spiral around, curl in on themselves. So something's definitely going on here. And why do I say these episodes follow themselves? Is because the eye 1, again, here these symbols are faded in the background of this image, so that kind of represents to me a beginning to here the end. And he's got the star on top of the pyramid, and there's some interesting light work going on here. This time as well, he has some form of lightning control going on in his left hand, and he's actually wielding a full lightning bolt here in his right hand. That's going to be it for the eye series, but there's a couple more things still to check out. Right, so this is basically the second to last series of images we're going to be looking at today. These are, as far as I know, the only images of interest. There could be a couple others, I doubt I missed any. But basically here, what you're looking at is the series of Kronos, and there's two images, and one is called Anna and the other one is called Kata. The image we're looking at now is Anna, and I'm just going to point out that Anna means up and Kata means down. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to where that comes from, we'll save that for a later video. But basically, if we take a look here, we have an image of a man and a woman, and they're naked and they're hidden by a cloud. Now this image, Jack Treehorn pointed out to me, and thank God he did, because this is something we're going to discuss a little bit further in the future as well. But if you Google Pioneer plaque, P-L-A-Q-U-E, you get this. Here we go. Basically the exact same man and woman that we saw in the Rockstar Games wallpaper. Now, Pioneer, notably the numbers Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11, were space shuttles sent into space, and they were meant for extraterrestrial beings to pick them up. Now I'm going to try and keep it simple. Basically, behind the man and the woman there you have a boat, and the boat is tilted to completely to its side, and at the bottom you see that boat symbol again, it's right there, and the arrow kind of shows its movement from, I believe, the Earth into space. Now again, I'm going to try and alleviate the detail. I just wanted to point out that in that particular image, Kronos, the man and the woman are the man and the woman that were used on the spaceships, space shuttles, Pioneer 10 and 11. Here, this, in case you didn't know or you were wondering, is a representation of a certain chemical or gas or molecule, but we're not going to get into that either. I'm just going to point out that that's what that was, and this for the moment I'm going to leave as a blank. Anyway, going back to it, there's something else we need to kind of pay a little bit of interest to, and that is down here we have a clock, or sort of. I'm going to zoom in, it'll make life easier. I said, that's in the bottom left hand corner, and the smaller arm is kind of undulated and has a point, like the tip of an arrow, or kind of look like a little devil tail maybe, and the larger arm has some sort of geometric pattern. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was talking about stars and saying that astrology is going to be one of the major keys to solving this mystery, if you haven't been paying attention, littered all across the game and also all across these wallpapers is a hell of a lot of geometry. Now, astronomy is going to be the first key. The second key is going to be understanding the geometry, which is extremely important and quite detailed. But again, if you're patient and you're willing to stay with me, I will break it all down. I will put in the effort. I'll make sure we get it done. But sticking to the point here, there's also a little lightning bolt hidden there. Well, not so much hidden, but not quite as obvious as it could be. Now, here on this image called Anna, we also have two obelisks, one on the left, one on the right, with a lion's head on it. Now this could be representing Leo, the lion, the sun, and also here we have this pyramid which appears to be rising into the sky. Why do I say it's rising into the sky? Because of the lines around it which kind of imitate takeoff, let's say. Now, the next thing I'm going to show is that you can't really see it here, but the right obelisk has a very faint pattern coming from it, emanating from it, whereas the left obelisk does not. And the other thing I'm going to point out as well is the three triangles or pyramids here pointing toward the light, and the 1, 2 and 3 lights spiraling around the rock star symbol, and again surrounded by geometry. But what we're looking at here basically is going to bring us to the Carta picture, because this is, as I said, the Anna picture, but the Carta picture is going to represent these two images here, and here we have a sun, and the sun is basically a person holding a sword, and again you have the moon next to it, a crescent moon holding a sword, and it just repeats that pattern all the way around. But going back, so this is the second image of the Chronos series, Anna and Kata, and this one is obviously Kata. Now, a couple things to point out here again is that we have the two characters that I pointed out right at the end on Anna. The sun here is represented by a woman, as we can see breasts here, and the moon is represented by, you could consider it maybe a reaper, or let's just say a male skeleton. I would imagine it's a male. Now, a full skeleton, I'm going to point out here that the skeleton does have a green ray coming out of the tip of his finger, his index finger. And I'm going to point out here as well that in this little circle amongst all this geometry we have these three mountain peaks or pyramids. But zooming a little bit out of this, you probably won't be able to make it out, but right at the top there, I'm going to zoom into his eye. Can you see the eye? In the background there is quite a big lion. So again, it could be representing Leo and the sun once more, or perhaps something else, you know, I'm not too sure on that one. And here it's important to point out that down the bottom here, I really hope you can see this, but in this particular set of pyramids there is the face of this woman. Now, I'm pretty sure she's female. For better detail you have to check it out for yourselves, but why all the hidden images? Why here? Is this possibly a series of clues that could help us unlock some bigger mysteries? I really do think it is. is this all I had to show you? No. There's still a couple more, I'm afraid. For those of you who are bored by now, I'm really sorry, or I'm guessing you're not here anymore. But fuck it, let's carry on. So that was Kronos, Anna and Kata, and yeah, this is going to be the final and the most interesting and the most rewarding for those of you who stayed through the whole video. Now this series is called Battle, and this particular image is called Tundra. Now I'm going to zoom in on Tundra here, and we're just going to go over quickly what images we can see in the Tundra battle. To the right here we have a koala, and he is saying, "I must stop them, but how?" question mark. Here we have a tiger leaping to the right with 3 stripes behind him, red, orange stripes. Here we have kind of a kung fu ninja dude jumping through to the right, following the tiger with 3 stripes behind him. Here we have a big elephant and a small elephant, a baby elephant. Up here we have an attack helicopter, and to the left over here we have 2 horses, probably a stallion and a female horse, along with a tarantula. Now this is where I'm going to zoom in for you because he wasn't too clear. But the most interesting thing so far is going to be this lady here screaming attack. Now this, for those of you who aren't aware, is a dominatrix. And what does she hold? She holds a cane. She also has a gas mask and a top hat. I'm going to leave that for Wispy because I know he enjoys his top hats. But this dominatrix screaming attack, first thing she makes me think of is she kind of has a Nazi vibe to her. Now that was just a hunch, and I kind of found a little clue that might point to that being the case, but I'm gonna show you something else first. What we're looking at now is a website that can be found in game, and it is the Proposition43.org or something. Yeah, Proposition43.org website. And basically Proposition 43 is a movement, to keep it simple, which is trying to get people to go against the typical American family. Now, as you can see here to the right hand side, this is what would be the typical American family: a husband, a wife and a child of their own descent, so not adopted. These guys are pretty much against this kind of family, so they want to outlaw straight couples who have children. Now this has a lot of connections to deeper things, but I'm going to try and keep it simple and explain why we're here. But basically it says, just think of if every dad were gay. It takes a village of homosexuals, transsexuals, bisexuals, asexuals, mimes, dominatrix, mitochondria, and entertainment lawyers to raise a child. Now, 2 things to point out here, the most interesting things at least, are mimes and dominatrix. Now, I'm going to keep it simple once again, but I'm going to show you a little bit of my process, a little bit about my hunch as well, but before that I'm going to show you something that Jack Treehorn kind of pointed out to me, and that is basically what you're looking at here is something Wispy Woods has brought up before, and this is the Wikia, and it's the Galileo House. Now the Galileo House, includes a couple of companies working in it. The first one is the Isomorph Technologies, then we have QueefSat, and then we have Flojoscope, and then we have Miasma and Thermoskype. But the interesting one here is Miasma, and this is an aerial bacteria or disease or something, basically a gas or a toxin that could kill you through the air. And he kind of linked it, and I'm not going to go into depth, but he kind of linked it as to why she may be wearing a gas mask. I'm sure Wispy will be able to link a couple things to the cane and the top hat once he's seen the video and he's aware of what I'm showing you right now. But moving on, I also chose to put dominatrix inside the GTA Wiki, and it only came up with one result, and this kind of pushed me a little bit towards my hunch about the Nazis. And it says dominatrix is a district in the residential district Anywhere City in Grand Theft Auto 2. It's controlled by the scientist. So that's basically all it says about it. But I also looked at the scientists because it has a direct link for these particular scientists. And what this said to me is the scientists go under the organisation of Sex and Reproductive Systems, SRS. Segregate and rearrange. Take the R away from SRS here, and you will basically get SS, and the SS were obviously the Nazi generals. And I also want to point out again here, geometry, astrology, this symbol is kind of interesting to me, but I'm going to have to come back to that at a later point. Anyway, moving on, we have the second battle image, and this one is called Battle Ocean. And what we're looking at here, we're going to zoom in a little bit to the image. I'm going to go over a couple of details, but what we have is an eagle being fired at by a military or an army ship. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure it's the ship firing at the eagle. I'm not sure if the eagle is preying on the ship or if it's in a defensive stance. I'm not too sure about that. As far as the rest of the battle goes, we have a chimp here with laser eyes hitting this cowboy dude who, if I zoom in, is actually holding some sort of flag. Now it's a red and white flag with a gold outline, and I don't really know what flag it is just yet. Now he is kind of in a rodeo position, I'm just going to say that for the moment, and obviously here we have the twin dolphins, the mirrored dolphins. In the middle of these dolphins we have this little surfer dude riding the waves there, just chilling, and to the left we have the gorilla with laser eyes like the chimp, and he is actually shooting at a flying shark. So it's all very interesting and all very cryptic, and again the reason I'm bringing this is because I'm kind of hoping that Wispy Woods, Bry, and anyone else who wants to take a shot at it kind of investigate these images further, because I find they hold a lot of detail, and where Rockstar puts detail I believe we can find answers. It's as simple as that. But pretty much here for the final image, and this is the final battle. This battle is the desert, and probably one of the most interesting images we're going to see today, because, you know, save the best till last, as you do. We're going to zoom in on the different parts of interest here. At the top in the sky in the desert battle, I'm just going to point out that's a blimp and it's exploding or on fire, or both. Now underneath that you have a polar bear with white streaks jumping towards a motocross rider, MX rider, with red streaks behind him, and they're flying towards each other, and underneath we have these two knights with their dual laser spears or sabers, whatever they are, and they are wearing black tin hats, red robes with gold and white print on them, and they are riding two white horses. The other thing of interest here is going to be this little alien who appears to be crawling on the desert floor. He is silver and he has bright green eyes there, as you can see. And next to him we have a tiger shooting laser rays at this eagle in the sky. Now the tiger's rays kind of explode here. What's interesting about the eagle one is they kind of look like eyes, like the eagle would be firing eyes. This could be as simple as just to take the bird's eye view, but where it gets a little bit more interesting here is these three in the left hand corner. Now here we have a fire breathing bear, which is very interesting, underneath which we have a beaver screaming "Why?" I just want to know that the beaver is a symbol of the great architect, the creator, and it's kind of like these guys are destroying the land, like they're having war. He's kind of questioning as to why. and that's what me and Jack kind of were going for. And probably the most out of place and interesting of all is this little girl here, just casually running around with her confetti strings or whatever they are. I don't know what they're called. I was never a little girl, believe it or not, so I wouldn't know. But anyway, as I said, that was going to kind of be the final image, and again, the link will be in the description below for you guys to kind of go and check them out, see if you can make any sense of it. As always guys, I really do hope you enjoyed the content. We've actually gone through quite a lot of images today. I've had to shed quite a lot of information. I think I actually got it all in there. As always, I leave a lot of open doors, but for this video I think this is a door big enough that I don't actually need to put anything at the end to make it a little bit interesting. This is enough. I really urge you to go check it out, see the link in the description. Again, you know, if you appreciate the content, feel free to subscribe, you know, check in, comment as well with any questions, opinions, always welcome. But as usual guys, until next time, take it easy and see ya.